My name is Jukka-Pekka Heikkilä, and I'm a researcher in the project hosting this event. And it's an honor to give you a brief 2 minutes introduction of what we do here in the Aalto School of Science with our project. So, we are a team of 6 professors, 3 project researchers, and 1 practitioner. Our ongoing research, funded by the Wallenberg Foundation, is looking into how can strategy become more participatory and inclusive without losing direction or clarity. In collaboration with the University of Oxford, we are exploring these together with 4 case organizations, which are Reactor and Futurize, leading Finnish tech companies with flat hierarchies and self-organizing teams. Burning Man, a large-scale cultural experiment with regional communities over 50 countries aiming to do participatory strategy. And lastly, Wikimedia/Wikipedia, a global volunteer-driven platform with radically open strategic planning. What we are finding out as our project is going towards its end is that open strategy can foster stronger commitment and more adaptive planning in organizations, but it also brings complexity. Key dilemmas include who participates and how are the critical decisions made together, and what types of conflicts emerge during these kind of processes, and how do we balance between openness, clarity, and direction. Alongside academic publications, we actively engage with practitioners through seminars, which are available in YouTube, and we aim to publish public media pieces, and also our researcher Jaakko has recently published a avoin strategia, suljettu strategia, and 2 weeks ago we published a essay in Talouselämä. More information is on everything is at our website. So that's a snapshot of our works, and now it's my honor to welcome our project's principal investigator, Frank Martela, a philosopher, researcher, and a friend, and one of the leading experts on the science of meaning in life, in addition to expertise in strategy and self-organizing. Frank's cross-disciplinary insights have been featured for the public and businesses in Harvard Business Review, in New York Times, Scientific American, CNN, and he's the author of Wonderful Life, Insights on Finding a Meaningful Existence. Today, Frank is the second speaker, and he guides us to explore what truly motivates people and how meaning can reshape the future of work. Welcome, Frank.
I guess I would say a few words, but we will leave some time for after that for some questions and comments. So it would be great that, as Rich mentioned, there's much more that he could be talking about. So I will want to give him some room to answer any questions that you might have. But before that, I give few insights also about this leadership topic. Because when we were designing this event, we wanted to get as many people to listen to Rich, because we felt that he's going to have important message to convey to you. But then we thought that, okay, given that I have quite good well-known name in Finland, if I'm also speaking, we will get more people into the room. So I was kind of the scapegoat to get you here to listen to Rich. But I guess now that we promised that I will talk something, I have to do something. So I will tell you a few insights also around this topic of how to lead this engagement and through that increase well-being and performance. And I'll skip these. But so I guess quite often, when thinking about how to talk about these issues to the broader audience, it's quite much about trying to integrate this research, where what we get from the research studies, all of these principles from there, but then also trying to integrate that with the practical insights that we get from when I be for example, interviewing people who are in leadership positions in various organizations, how they themselves see their job and what they see as most important principles for their leadership. And kind of the model that I wanted to show you today is this model, which actually comes originally from the school context and from how teachers are supporting the autonomy of the students, but it can also be applied to the managerial context and organizations. Because like one kind of like, I guess like one misunderstanding that often comes as regards this, like how to support people's like autonomy is like, that if you just give this passive leadership, like, giving people like much room and don't saying anything, that will be very empowering. And that's like not what the self-determination theory is kind of like trying to argue for. So actually it's like, the best way of motivating people is like providing like enough structure for their work. So they need to know what is expected of them, what is their role, what are the rules, what are the regulations around their job, what they can decide themselves, what they cannot decide themselves, and so forth. So have like some kind of structure to know what they're doing. But at the same time, then like the structure should be like as autonomy supportive as possible. So like explaining the reasons for why we have these structures, asking from people, and like together designing the principles that lead to the best outcomes. So in that sense, like the kind of like the opposite of this, like having structure, is very like this chaotic environment where nobody knows what is expected of us, and everybody just does whatever they want, and nobody knows when they have done a good job because nobody has like explained to them what will be a good performance in their specific role. So this chaotic leadership is the opposite of like clear structure, but at the same time, like the opposite of this autonomy supportive style of leadership is like this more controlling style of leadership, like so controlling people too much. So in that sense, kind of like in a leadership position, you have to think that how to combine these two, how to make sure that there's enough structure, that you are clarifying for people how they should be doing the job, what are the structures, but at the same time also like, take people into account, ask from people how they are doing in the situation, ask them how they themselves would want to do in that situation, and through that combine these two approaches. And in general, like I said, like, when we think about these leadership styles, okay, there's like many leadership models out there, but like very roughly we could say that, one classic model of leadership, it is more command and control style of leadership. So, I come in and I tell you what you should be doing, and then I monitor that you are doing exactly how I told you should be doing. And then the other model is this more inspire and serve kind of model, where you're trying to like inspire people to care about the common goal and then serve them so that they can best get to this common goal. And I think like 1 year ago, a bit more than 1.5 years ago, I wrote this article for Harvard Business Review with the topic of like this minimalist leadership and its benefits. And kind of like the idea why I call this minimalist leadership, the inspiration for that kind of like term, which is of course a bit like a provocative term, is that it comes, one of the inspirations comes from like this Ilkka Paananen, the CEO of Supercell, which is this Finnish company, like mobile game company, which has been doing like quite well. So it has been like producing these like various mobile games that have like crossed like more than 1 billion. Five different games have like crossed more than 1 billion in the game. So probably one of the most successful mobile game companies in the last decade or so. And Ilkka Paananen often has like said in several interviews that his goal is to be the world's least powerful CEO. So in a way, the less people need him in various situations, the better he has succeeded in his job. Because when he's able to like show that here are the ambitious goals, and then like build an environment where people are able to pursue those goals, and the teams are able to pursue those goals themselves without needing much from the CEO, in that situation he has like succeeded in the best. So in that sense, paradoxically, sometimes the role of the leader is trying to make themselves as like dispensable as possible. So the less people need you, the better you have like succeeded in growing them into being able to make the decisions themselves. And another inspiration for like this calling this minimalist leadership was this study by Adam Grant, where he was looking at these 57 franchises of this US national pizza company. And he was basically looking at like extroversion or introversion, and if the leader is like extroverted or introverted, which is better for like store performance. And first, what he found out that in stores where employee proactivity was low, so like employees were like not too motivated about their job, then the more extroverted leaders had the advantage. So they were like stepping in, telling people what to do, like taking more space, and so forth, and getting more out of the employees. But then there was also these stores where like employee proactivity was high, and then suddenly it was like to reverse the effect. So the more introverted leaders actually had the advantage there, because they were more attuned to the situation where the employees actually were already knowing what to do, were already like motivated to do the things. So they were like more easily then like stepping away and giving the employees room to perform better themselves. So highest profits were found in these stores, which like combined these proactive employees with less extroverted leaders. And just like one more study to show, like here in the beginning, it's like about this servant leadership, that it has also been studied in several organizations. And this is another study from like US. This time it was a restaurant chain, and again they were like measuring manager and servant leadership rated by the employees. Then they were measuring store performance, but also employee creativity, employee performance. And they found out that that when the managers were more of the servant leadership quality, that led to higher creativity, higher in-role performance, and also higher store performance. And in that article, I basically gave like these 4 steps towards this minimalist leadership. And these were kind of like inspired from my like discussions with various Finnish leaders who I felt that like, were somehow able to convey this kind of like leadership style, that one could call it like, servant leadership, one could call it minimalist leadership, one could call it like autonomy supportive leadership, but I think like the kind of like the basic style was somehow similar in these cases. And one thing that was clear when I was talking with them is that usually you have to start with giving people some direction. So if people don't know where we are heading, what are the company goals, what are the goals we are heading towards, then it's very hard to perform well, then it's very hard to like know how to do a good job. For example, Matti Alahuhta, who probably is like for the Finnish audience, everybody knows probably him because he was the first in the Nokia, and then he was like CEO of Kone for several years. And during his tenure at the Kone, the market value of the company increased by 600%. So it was like quite a good tenure that he was spending there. And after he at the end of his career at the Kone, he wrote this book called, in the Finnish, Johtajuus, kirkas suunta ja ihmisten voima. So leadership, like clear direction and the power of the people. And he was quite much like saying that the most important principle in his leadership was like making sure that everybody knows what is the clear direction, where are we heading, what is our strategy, what are the things battles that we want to win this year. So if people know that, then you already half of your job as a leader has been done. But besides making sure that you have the clear direction, the next step is then give people ownership. So give people more room to make decisions themselves. And an example from that, this was this Tuomas Syrjänen, who was for a long time the CEO of Futurize, this Finnish ICT company. And he told that when the company started to grow, also the line behind his door started to grow. So there was more and more people coming to him, asking from him hey, we're in this kind of situation, should we do this or should we do that? And then he was talking with the people and saying that, yeah, let's do this or let's do that. Then at one point he realized that this is not very sustainable model, because there was more and more people coming to ask from him, and he didn't have any time for this actual CEO task anymore, thinking about the more strategic things, because all of his time was spent making these small decisions that the employees came to ask from him. So he decided that from this moment onward, I will never give the employees any answer anymore. So when they come to ask from me for this advice, instead of telling them that, hey, let's do A or let's do B, I will tell them that, okay, in this situation, if I would make the decision, I would probably think about these matters. I would think look at these numbers, I would ask from these people, and after that, I would make the decision. And then he said to the people that, okay, now you know what I would do to make the decision. Now go out and make the decision, and I will support you whatever the decision is. So kind of so what he was trying to convey was helping people to more think like the CEO. So not telling them how to do things, but helping them to decide, become better at making this decision. Think it the same way he would think in the similar situation. But at the same time, another dimension was this knowledge. So because one reason why the CEO often can do better decisions for the company than the average employee is usually the CEO knows more about the overall situation of the company. So when you are giving people more power to make decisions, you have to also make sure that you give them enough information to make these decisions, so that they will benefit the company in the overall sense. Then the third dimension that is also important are these boundaries. So making sure that when you give people more room to make decisions, at the same time you have to somehow make sure that the people know where are the limits of their power. What are the things that they can decide themselves? What are the things that they cannot decide by themselves? And here one example is this Wolt company, which was a couple of years ago acquired by this DoorDash for several billions. And when they were acquired by DoorDash, one thing that the DoorDash liked about the company, what make it attractive was that the company was, Wolt was able to go to new countries and become profitable there much quicker than most of its competitors. So they did something better in their process of going to the new countries. So at one point, this Juhani Mykkänen, who was like one of the founders, he was visiting my lecture, and I asked him like, about like what was their secret in that? What did they do differently? And he said that what they did differently is that when they went to a new country, they took quite a long time to find the right team to lead that country. So instead of like hiring the first persons they found, they were trying they took a long time to make sure that the team is like competent enough, is like ambitious enough to run the country. But then when they had like found the team, then they gave them very much independence to think themselves like, how are we running the operations in this country? Because all countries have like bit different cultures, bit different legislations and so forth. So instead of like centrally planning how to go into a country, they felt that it's the best way forward is to give people very much room to independently decide how to operate in that country. But at the same time, when they give this more power to the country leaders, they also make sure that there's like certain things that they cannot like decide. There's certain things that have to stay centrally designed and the same in every country. So they made it like gave people more room to make decisions, but at the same time made it clear what are the boundaries of their freedom, what are the things that they cannot decide by themselves in individual countries. And finally, the fourth factor is about then like just trusting people, that when you are then giving people more power, also you have to like make sure that you trust them in these situations, because the worst case scenario is kind of a situation where the leader comes in and says to people, hey, make the decision, whatever decision you make, but then people make a decision and then the leader comes in and says that, okay, actually you made the wrong decision, so I'm going to correct it right now. So that's kind of like this very like, that's not a very good situation, because then the employees no longer think for themselves, but in every decision they think that what does the manager want me to decide? So they don't think about the best interest of the company anymore, but try to second guess what the manager wants them to do, because they know that if they make a wrong choice, then the managers come in and change the direction. And this is also something that this Supercell was like experiencing at one point, where they were developing this game called Boom Beach, and they had like this idea that the teams should themselves decide whether they should go forward with the game or whether they should like to kill the product at some point, because Supercell has like produced some, I think 6 games during its more than 10 years of existence, which means that actually because they have like many teams developing games, there have been like hundreds of games that they have like started to develop, and then at one point realized that this is not going to be like good enough game, so let's kill this project and turn to something new. And in most of these decisions, it has always been the case that the team themselves, because the numbers are usually quite clear as regards these games when they test it, the teams themselves could make the decision that, okay, at this point we go forward, or at this point we are not going forward. But in this case, there was like this conflict between the team and the top management. So the team was feeling that, hey, let's launch this game globally, while the top management are saying that, actually the numbers are not good enough, we should not launch this globally. So there was like this discrepancy, this conflict, and then like Ilkka and the other top leaders like were thinking that, okay, what should we do in this situation? And they realized that actually we have been building this culture of autonomy, this culture of like empowering people for a long time. If we now step in and reverse the decision of the team, that might be a good decision in the short term from the financial point of view, but still it's not going to be, it's going to kill the culture that we have been building. So in the end, they were allowing this team to make the decision themselves, and they're pushing the launch button of the game at that point. So here's just like these 4 principles that I derived from like talking with various Finnish managers, like this direction, ownership, boundaries, and trust, and I feel that they map quite well onto this circumplex model that I was showing at the beginning, because this direction and boundaries are quite much about like giving this clear structure for people, so people know where they're heading, what are the goals, where we want to go in the long term and in the short term, and people are also given like clear boundaries. So like even though they're given more freedom to make decisions, at the same time they still know where the boundaries are as regards their freedom. So that's about like clear structure, but at the same time, it's quite much about like giving people ownership and trusting them. So I actually like feeling that the people are capable of making these good decisions, and because of that, when they make a decision, I shouldn't be there as a leader and come and second guess their decisions, but support them and trust them that they actually can make good decisions in various situations. So in that sense, this task of leadership can be like, it's in the end, it's very simple. So if here's an individual employee and you're the manager, there's like just a couple of things that you have like ensure. First, make sure that there's a clear direction. People know where they're heading and what is their role in heading into that direction. Then make sure that they have like a personal motivation to go there. After you have like ensured that, make sure that there's clear boundaries. People know what they can do themselves, what they cannot do themselves. And when that has been like established, just make sure that they have like enough knowledge and enough skills to get there. And if you succeed in all of that, then you have like made yourself useless. That the employees no longer need you because they themselves can like go to the right direction by themselves. So in that sense, like that's where this minimalist leadership comes from. Like, the better you're able to establish these things, the less them employees need you to perform at high levels. And I will end up with a couple of quotes. One of the quotes is from this Tuomas Syrjänen, who I also already mentioned. And in one interview, he said that sometimes he thinks which organization is better, the one that does exactly what the CEO tells, but nothing more, or the one that does lots of great things, but not always what the CEO wants. Because he said that, of course, like leading this kind of organization where everybody is empowered, everybody has an opinion where we should be going. It's sometimes frustrating if you are the CEO and you are supposed to lead the organization, and then you come in and say that, let's go there, and then people are saying that, no, we don't want to go there. Actually, we want to go there. So that can be like a bit of a frustrating experience for the leader. But in the end, he felt that, he always will pick up this responsible and independent organization because he felt that it accomplishes much more things than the organization just like who is obeying the orders of the CEO. There might be more things coming and emerging in the organization that are not like originated by the CEO, which might be bad for the ego of the CEO, but still the company will be performing better because the CEO is able to give people more room to make these independent decisions. And another quote that I want to end with is from this Robert Greenleaf, who was the original thinker behind the servant leadership. And he was saying that the simple test to think about whether you're a servant leader or not is to think, do those people you're serving grow as persons? So your subordinates, when you come into the room, do they shrink as persons or do they grow as persons through your interaction? So if you get that right, if you feel that people are growing because of your influence, then you already probably are quite much a servant leader. That's all for my part. Thank you.